Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, man complains to my manager, saying he felt attacked by me for wanting a table. But those trees are older than me. Update. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Man complains to my manager, saying he felt attacked by me for wanting a table. I, 19F, work in a restaurant, and on this night, I was hosting. We had a UFC fight showing, so this night was extremely busy. We had a long waitlist, and when this one man in particular came in to request a table for 6, I told him the same thing I tell everyone else when it's so busy. That when the restaurant is full, I can't give an exact wait time simply because almost everybody is staying to watch the fight. Well, for the next 2 hours, this man hovered over my shoulder, as well as the other two hostesses' shoulders, asked about any possible open tables every 10 minutes, and walked around the restaurant as if a table would magically open. When 2 tables finally opened that would seat his party of 5, one of his friends left. I gave him the option to choose which table he would prefer. One was a high-top table outside, and the other was a round large booth inside. He didn't want either of them, and then proceeded to walk around the restaurant, looking for a table again. I looked at my coworkers, who watched the whole thing in disbelief. When he came back, he asks me, "What if you split us up?" I respond with, "Unfortunately, I don't have the tables in order to do that." He then goes, "No. Like 2 and 3? Bruh." Now, this was when my patience with him after 2 hours finally snapped, and I firmly stated again that I simply did not have the tables. I wasn't rude, but I certainly was more firm. This man, who looked like he bench presses straws with a hairline that has a restraining order against his forehead, then goes and complains to my manager and tells him he felt I attacked him because he simply wanted a table. Thankfully, after explaining the events that lead up to the complaint, my manager was on my side. Later that night, I found out this man ended up wanting 2 separate booths for him and his friends, which made no sense because I offered him the large round party booth. I don't know how I managed to have patience with that man for 2 whole hours. How did this guy have 4 friends left by the end? This man, who looked like he bench presses straws with a hairline that has a restraining order against his forehead, that's the funniest thing I've read today. I worked in restaurants for years. I could never be a host. You are a saint for not going off on him. Some people can be crazy rude. I've ran bars in Covent Garden, London, Osaka, Hong Kong, Singapore, Auckland, Perth, Sydney, Malaga, and for a brief time New York. Let me tell you the one rule that you need to remember. The customer is always right when I say he is. I've had hundreds of staff over the years. Hell, in Singapore, I had close on 50 per night. Your management should back you up no matter what. Chuck them out on their ear if they're rude. No excuses. When you all keep that ethos, the stupidity ends. You also start to notice the idiotic behavior fades away. Some people just don't make sense. That customer did not make sense. Did your manager know that this guy was stalking your tables? Next time anything like this happens, please alert your manager. But those trees are older than me. A couple houses down the road from me, there was a nice little place just sold to a lovely young couple, the newbies, about a month ago. Their new yard was bordered by a double layer of nice bushy trees on 3.5 sides, which was part of the appeal. Having lived in the city, privacy was number 1 on their forever home list. The property itself is surrounded by farmland used mostly for cattle. About 2 weeks ago, the newbies moved in, and when inspecting the property, they found several of the exterior layer of trees had been cut down, leaving large gaps in their privacy line. These trees kept being down by what was obviously a chainsaw over the next few days on all 3 sides, but nobody ever saw anything in such a rural area. Hearing farm machinery or a chainsaw throughout the day is fairly common, and houses are fairly far apart with trees in between them. As I'm the closest neighbor to them, they stopped in to ask if I had heard or seen anything. I did not. We started talking and hit it off enough to exchange numbers and social media info and started chatting often. The trees being cut not only cost them some of their privacy, but protection from the winter storms, which can get quite bad out here. It also really bothered them that someone would just cut their trees without permission. 5 days ago, I was called over after dark to watch their children as their 3 dogs started acting odd and lethargic. Turned out the dogs somehow ate what the vet is calling tainted meat, and 2 didn't make it. The third is fighting, and their vet bill is already around $11,000 due to emergency services being needed after hours, multiple surgeries and testing. The vet came back 3 days ago strongly suggesting that they look around their property for potentially poisoned meat and called the police. They came up and searched the property and found some more dead animals nearby and pieces of old steak, which were bagged and brought in for testing. Yesterday, the police showed up at Farmer's home and arrested him. He literally lives right next door to me, so it was hard not to see what was going on. I called the newbies to ask if it has anything to do with their issue, and Papa Newbie just told me the whole messed up story. Turns out Farmer is a legit basket case. The newbies were approached the day they took their final pre-sold inspection of the property about the trees in the back of the yard by Farmer. Farmer told the newbies that their tree branches were growing onto his land and affecting the effectiveness of his electric fence, installed just last fall. Farmer strongly suggested to newbies that they cut the double line of trees down entirely. Newbies suggested Farmer moved his fence back a foot instead, as newbies stated those trees are older than me. Farmer kept insisting once the sale officially went through, so the newbies took out their deed, and lo and behold, Farmer's recently installed electric fence was actually 3 foot over their property line. Farmer now has no choice but to move his fancy new fence back minimum 3 feet. Which means he has to cut quite a few of his trees and remove stumps on his property to do so. We are still cleaning up from the last hurricane, so this will be very hard to get done this season and will be very expensive. Plus, the machinery needed to cut trees and shave stumps this size will put massive ruts in the land, which will have to be fixed before allowing the cows back into the main pasture. This has started other property disagreements, as it seems this isn't the only property that was encroached on, and it's not the first family harassed. When I purchased my home, I refused to cut or move several mature trees on my property that were close to the fence line because 1. They were full-grown 25-plus-year-old trees at this point, and 2. It would have cost hundreds to replace with saplings and over $1,000 to relocate them. They all mysteriously fell during winter storms within that first year. Each of the homes bordering the farmland have been standing 20-plus years. From what we can gather, Farmer has been waiting until neighbors went to work or a storm that reduces visibility / noise and cut down trees on others' property that he felt were too close to his property. We found out through a member of the community associated with the police just now that Farmer was officially charged for putting out antifreeze-laced meat, huge no-no here, which killed newbie's dog gradually in a horrendous way, kidney failure in otherwise healthy dogs. Additional potential charges also include vandalism, destruction of property, harassment. Charges stem from not just the newbies but quite a few families with property that borders the farm. I wish I could prove it was Farmer that cut down my trees, but given all this, I know it was. Newbies' dogs weren't the first to die this way in our community either. They were the first to get to the vet and tested before passing away though, and many neighbors are beyond furious. I wonder how this will all play out, but this smells an awful lot like karma. They say there's one in every community. But I'm thinking thanks to drugs, there's far more than that in this once quiet and calm community. Update: it's no fun being that common person in the community that everyone knows. Farmer's daughter just left and she seems simultaneously genuinely gutted by all this and defensive over her father's actions. She claims Farmer has been going through some senior issues the last couple of years and it's not really his fault, he doesn't know what he's doing. After 20 minutes of this, I asked what his excuse was for 10 plus years ago when I purchased my property, and he cut my trees. She didn't deny it and said her dad is set in his ways and that this was all his land not long ago. As if it gave him a right to harass neighbors to a rather extreme degree. For the record, our properties were once part of the farm but were all sold by the 1980s, excepting one. Not the newbies. Farmer still owns around 100 acres. People are indeed talking. I don't know what she was expecting, but she's darn lucky her dad isn't also being charged with racist attacks, considering the newbies are not originally from this country. Ironically, it's the fact he's likely done this before that's saved him there. Sheep, on the other hand, mentioned straight out several times that if the newbies were from around here it wouldn't be such a big deal, and the only reason it's being taken so seriously is because they're a different skin color. On the bonus, I don't feel even one tiny bit bad for Farmer or his daughter now. You need to tell newbie neighbors to hire a lawyer. If they can prove it was him cutting down the trees, well, I will just say tree law rocks. Fully mature trees are very valuable. It's obvious to me that this farmer just lost everything. Between killing the dogs and eagles, plus cutting down older trees, this man will be fined millions. Probably be in jail for quite some time as well. Farmer is beyond entitled. They are antisocial and likely psychopathic. Put up cameras ASAP. It's hard to put up and maintain cameras on multi-acre properties, unfortunately. OMG, your poor neighbors and their poor dogs. I'm devastated for them. That is just heartbreaking. I agree that they need to file against Farmer. What a horrible situation for them to be in. What should have been a joyous move will now forever be tainted with the loss of their beloved family pets. Give them hugs from me. And I really hope beyond hope the last one pulls a miracle. Get the community to rally against Farmer and don't come back. Murdering pets, killing bald eagles, cutting down mature trees, trespassing, destruction of property, harassment. What other gasoline can we throw at this guy? He needs to burn bigger and hotter. Farmer Psycho went hell and gone beyond entitled. Went straight to massive POS. Plain and simple, you don't hurt animals. He obviously didn't think or care about the innocent casualties before exacting his retribution for not getting his way. Not only does this POS have karma coming for him, now he has Mother Nature to contend with. She doesn't take too kindly to those who mess with any of her creatures. I hope they both wreak total havoc on him. We have had cats that have mysteriously died after bringing home rodents, and I'm ashamed to say poison never crossed my mind. Not this close to a farm with over 100 livestock. The more I think about it, the more obvious it all is. But nobody noticed or spoke about it. I'm sure it will be all anyone talks about for the next bit though. But those trees are older than me. Update. So, community meeting last night was tense and very serious. Conservation came back with official COD for the birds and it matched the dog. They were indeed poisoned with antifreeze injected meat. The dog's official COD was ethyl something poisoning, leading to kidney failure. Doggo 2 is recovering well but will likely have long-term kidney problems. Nobody knows how long this has been going on, but the community has been talking. The first strange pet death anyone remembers occurred about the time Farmer's wife passed away in 2006. It was unanimous that Farmer's wife died of natural causes. I'm sure you can guess how that specific fact came up given the circumstances. The count of dead animals being discovered is rather alarming. Coyotes, raccoons, foxes, birds of prey, and even a half-dozen weasels. The birds of prey were not eagles as rumors insisted, but red-tailed hawks. They're not protected here. Someone must have mistaken them for juvenile eagles, though nobody is admitting the error. So other than a fine for the dead wildlife, which I believe is about $100 per animal, nothing is going to happen unless the neighbors sue, and they can't because of the massive vet bill. Now for community karma. The only real silver lining is this has made the community accept the new family wholeheartedly. Even the ones that were very borderline racist, outspoken against them initially have changed their tune. Some members of the community are starting a fundraiser to help them with the vet bill. I hope this will help them get justice, but they're so scared now they're talking about moving. They'll be the fourth family in that property since 2008. I can't say I blame them. Farmer tried to blame his sole employee, who immediately quit. When he went to the feed store 2 weeks ago and was told he's no longer welcome. Same with the grocery and gas station. Nobody talks to him since he was arrested, and in a community as small as this you need your neighbor's support to survive. Especially with a large farm to run by yourself. His daughter has cut all ties with him, but because of her initial intimidation tactics with neighbors and myself, she's no longer welcome here either. I noticed a cattle truck there yesterday loading up some of his herd. I'm hoping he's had to sell the lot. I don't think he should be around animals or humans after this, though for some reason I do feel bad for him over there all alone. Mentally well people don't do things like this. It's not an excuse by any means, but I do feel he needs help. But as I don't think he deserves it after what he's done, I'm definitely not the one to offer it. Everyone here is still just shocked. There's the usual rumors ranging from plausible, he's a secret alcoholic and did it under the influence, to ridiculous, alien/Satanism. Bigfoot, seriously, every community seems to have folk who believe it's got to be something like that. We seem to have several that we never knew about, lol. The usual small town talk is running rampant. People who have never had pets are claiming farmer murdered them, while those that had pets go missing are in denial. Everyone has a story. It hasn't stopped. We've had scandals before, including a corrupt charity org and the usual, cheating spouses, addictions, etc., but I've never seen everyone on one side before. It's kinda nice to see, but the cause is so unpleasant I'm not sure it's a good thing. I don't think this is over yet, though I hope I'm wrong. Not one person has mentioned the trees. I'm not going to be the one to start. I don't understand why the neighbors can't sue for their vet bill and loss of animals. Pets are family. That evil farmer should not be getting away with what he did. Community snubbing is not enough. Lawyers cost money, and I don't think they've had positive interactions with the law in the past. From conversations, I don't think they were treated very kindly where they were before. In the eyes of the law, for most jurisdictions, pets are considered property. To be able to successfully sue someone, you have to be able to prove via a preponderance of the evidence that they more than likely hurt, damaged, your property, and how much it is worth at its age and status. Red-tailed hawks are protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, which protects all raptors in the U.S., and international treaties between the U.S. and the former USSR 1976, Mexico 1936, Canada 1916, and Japan 1972. The last few years has been a bit of a mess, with the former administration fighting back and forth over the application of the laws, lots of court cases overturning various regulations in the Federal Register. The most controversial change to the MBTA, known as the January 7th Rule, was overturned by a new rule that came into effect December 2021, reverts the MBTA implementation to where it was prior to 2017. But, if the USFWS and local fish and game agencies should be willing to investigate hawk deaths caused by poisoning. Glad to see this here. I was going to refer to the MBTA with a lot less detail than you gave. I'm curious about the daughter. Is she still living locally? Does she not deserve a second chance now that she has disowned her father? Nobody's mentioned anything about her other than sharing stories of attempted intimidation and that she's cut ties. I've only met her twice, and both times were unpleasant. I'm not sure where she lives, but it's not local. We don't see her much anyways. Red-tailed hawks are protected everywhere they live and migrate. Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918 covers that. FYI, the antifreeze is ethylene glycol. The animals are attracted to it because it smells and tastes sweet, as it's chemically related to sugar alcohols, but it's poisonous. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.